Hi moms and dads, Dr. Nicole here with another family-friendly tech tip. It's the holiday week, and that means that many of you probably have one or more new electronic devices around your house. While these gifts are a lot of fun for kids, they can create more stress for us as parents because we now get to manage what happens with these devices, right? It may be tempting for some of us to just bury our head in the sand, let our kids do whatever they want to with the devices, and just ignore the entire thing. But we know that that really isn't the best way to support our kids and to manage this process. Because the truth is, if we're going to let our children have access to electronic devices, which can be a great thing, we also need to accept the responsibility on ourselves as parents for helping them learn how to use them in safe, healthy, age-appropriate ways. But I get that that can be challenging. I hear that all the time from parents in my clinic. So today I wanted to share a few important tips to help you more easily and effectively manage screen time in your home. The first thing I recommend you do is take all of the devices that kids have access to and just sit down one night after they go to bed here, maybe over this coming weekend, and set up the parental controls features on all of the devices. Tends to be a pretty similar process, whether they're Apple devices or Android devices or Kindles, things like that. All a pretty similar way of doing that. They all have built-in functions that allow you to set controls for things like content that kids can access, time limits, all of those kinds of things. But take each device and take the few minutes to look into how to set up those parental controls. Really important, so that you're protecting them from things that are not appropriate for them to be accessing, while also making it easier for you to manage things like time limits, that kind of stuff. So that's the first thing. I should mention too that there are third-party apps and programs that you can get that make it even easier to manage multiple devices for multiple kids. In our home, we use one called Qustodio. There's several different ones out there, but I like those because they allow me as the parent to have the app on my phone and to view each of my children and each of their devices, and it just makes things a lot easier to manage all in one place. So you may want to look into that. Second thing to think about is setting some expectations or rules right here before the start of the new year about device-free times and zones in the home. If you don't already have device-free meal times, now's the great time to set that up. That way you minimize control struggles and battles during meal times when you want to be spending quality time together as a family with arguing about kids using devices, bringing them to the table, that kind of thing. Just set the rule we're not going to use those things at meal times. And then also look at setting rules like that right before bedtime. Not great for kids to be using devices right up until bedtime. It's overstimulating, makes it harder for them to go to sleep. And certainly set a rule about not using devices in the bedroom at night. Bedrooms are for sleeping, devices stay out of the room. So think about certain times and places throughout the day and around your home that you want to set up as screen-free times or zones, and set those expectations now, especially as we head into the new year. Third thing to think about to make it easier, especially if you have multiple children and lots of devices, is to set up a home base for your devices, or some families call it a charging station, a place where devices are going to be stored when not in use. This particularly comes in handy for devices that kids are using for gaming and those kinds of things. And parents can tear their hair out over, when are kids using devices? Where are they? Kids lose things, all of that kind of stuff. So setting up a basket or a box, maybe it's in the kitchen, maybe it's a spot on the kitchen counter, which is what we have in our home, where you've got a charging station set up. They can be plugged in, charged when they're not being used, and that makes it easier for us as parents to keep tabs on where are these devices, what's happening with them. And the final thing to think about is to really start having conversations with your kids about what is healthy, safe, and appropriate for using these devices. We often think about, giving kids devices, but don't really think about having conversations around teaching them how to think about their use of these devices. What's safe and what isn't? What do they need to be watching out for online? What might be things that they could see or hear or be exposed to online that they should bring to the attention of an adult? What are healthy time limits? All of these kinds of things. Engage with your kids in age-appropriate conversations. Obviously, that's different for, a preschooler than it is for a teenager, but commit to having those conversations regularly. It's not a one and done kind of thing, but start the conversation by talking with kids about what you think is healthy and safe and appropriate, things to watch out for, those kinds of things. So start having those conversations. I hope that these tips help you manage the devices in your home in a way that is healthier, safer, and simpler for all of you. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back next time with some more family-friendly tech tips.